Thank you, thank you. It's an honor to be here, but look, I'm going to be candid with you. I'm not going to pull punches. This is a very difficult presentation. I am here today to talk about death, that could have been prevented. And you know, it sounds dramatic, but I remember where I was when I got the call. I was a senior in high school. I just graduated. It was August 17th. My phone rang, picked up my phone. It was my best friend's mother. And again, I'm Steve Chaikin. I'm with the state's attorney's office. She says, Stevie, I have to tell you, she told me my best friend died. He died in a car accident related to alcohol and speed. I didn't believe it. I got off the phone. It's still to this day, I don't believe it. Phone rang again and again with people telling me your best friend died. An unnecessary death. Now, I want to ask before I get started here, how many people in this room, by show of hands only, how many people in this room know somebody directly or indirectly that has died from alcohol or drugs in any way? Man, I see a lot of hands. I'm going to say about a third of you just raised your hands. All right, hands down. Same group of people. How many people that just raised their hands that know somebody that died from drugs or alcohol think that death could have been prevented with a little bit of luck and intervention? How many think that person could still be alive? I'm seeing almost all the same hands go up. All right, you can put your hands down. And that's why we're here today. We're here today to empower you to speak up and save a life. Yet we're law enforcement. That's Commander Gillespie, in charge of the entire 5th District and more than that. I'm a state prosecutor. We're not here to arrest people. We're not here to threaten people. It's the opposite. Got great news for you. There's a new law on the books, and we're going to explain that law. It's called the Good Samaritan law. It can save your life, and it can get you out of trouble. And we're going to talk about that. Now, why are we here? We're here to talk about saving lives. We're here so that you know the decisions that you make every day can affect whether you live or die. Many alcohol and drug-related deaths could have been prevented. It could happen to you. It could happen to someone you know. It happened to my best friend. Death can be prevented. I had never been to a funeral. It was strange for me to carry this casket, never been to a funeral, and then it was an open casket funeral. There my friend laid, looking plastic, and I remember kind of touching his arm. And I remember thinking, oh, I know I'm waking up from this bad dream, because I'm going to wake up and everything's going to be fine. 20 years later, I still haven't woken up. My best friend is 6 feet under the ground, and he died for no good reason. We are not going to let that happen anymore. We are here to empower you to speak up and save a life, because you have the strength and the courage to simply pick up a phone and call 911. We interviewed a number of people that are involved with drugs. We interviewed heroin addicts, synthetic marijuana users, distributors of drugs. One of the worst interviews I had, young man, just recently a senior in high school, on probation for using and selling heroin. I said, young man, what's the worst thing that you've done since you've been involved with these drugs, these hard drugs? He said, well, I definitely disrespected my mother. I stole from my mother. I cursed at my mother. I even hit my mother on multiple occasions. I'm shocked. I mean, I wasn't raised that way, man. You hit your mother, you got an issue. Then I said, well, he says, Mr. Chaikin, but there's something worse than that. And he looks at me and he says, Mr. Chaikin, just like in your family, because I know you're from a nice family too, he said, I met a lot of sweet girls from nice families, just like your family, Mr. Chaikin. And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking about my children, just like you. I'm thinking, what's he going to say next? And he says, well, I met these sweet girls, and, I would talk with them, and we would hang out, and we would start dating, and I would get them to experiment with heroin. And so one died, then my second girlfriend died, then my third. 4 of my girlfriends died because I got them addicted to heroin, and they died. I'm thinking to myself, this is unbelievable. He beats his mother, and most of his girlfriends have died. This is sad. This man deserves to be in jail, but he's sharing the story with us. And the point is, it could happen to anybody. The point is that good families, this is happening to all kinds of families. Black families, white families, Hispanic, Asian, poor, rich, up county, down county, all over the state, all over the country. And we're going to talk about that. But you in this room have the power within you to save a life, to say no to the drug, but to call 911 when somebody's sick and to simply save a life. And that's why we're here today.
The same. And you just chase it. And then you start needing it. You don't want it, you need it.
At 16, April boasted a 4.2 GPA with scholarship offers to multiple colleges. While a hard partier on weekends, it wasn't until she fell in love that her life took a turn.
We met at a party and he just, we started rolling on ecstasy, doing stuff that we considered party drugs.
April started snorting heroin at age 16.
I was in a drug dealer's house on the east side of Dayton shooting dope. It just, for me, it happened really quick. The first time I shot it, I was hooked.
April, who says she shoots up all day every day, and a couple of hours without heroin makes her deathly ill or dope sick.
I'm homeless. I don't have anything.
The 20-year-old was kicked out of her home for repeatedly stealing from her mother to buy dope, a high that only lasts minutes or even seconds.
If I knew when I was 16 and did that first line of heroin, if I knew what was going to happen, I would have never touched it. You throw your life away.
One of the reasons we chose this video is for the before and the after. Look at this before. Very pretty, good student, everything going well. The after, homeless, no relationship with family, and the words keep echoing in my mind. If I knew, well, you all know the harm it can do to you, but now you're going to know about the Good Samaritan laws. We all know that opioids, drugs are tearing Maryland apart. And we just saw today why people raising their hand. 3 in 10 Marylanders know somebody that's addicted or having a problem with these drugs. The use has skyrocketed. And oftentimes, it's from transitioning from a prescription drug. Maybe there's an injury, so you get a prescription drug, or another reason. You're on this prescription, the prescription runs out, you start self-medicating with a cheaper drug. And then you don't realize how powerful it is. You don't realize that you can die the first time you do some of these drugs. We look at the drugs that are being used. Look at the blue line. The blue line is the use of heroin. Heroin is skyrocketing. Prescription drugs, cocaine, all these drugs, their use is skyrocketing. But heroin in particular, the numbers are incredible. Last year, over 578 young people died in Maryland from using heroin. We could fill up this whole auditorium. Every seat would reflect one person who died. It's incredible what's happened here in Maryland. The number of cases in our criminal justice system has increased because people use drugs and they do things that get them in trouble. But our goal is not to arrest people. Our goal is not to put people in jail. Our goal is to empower you to understand that the Good Samaritan law protects you. It protects the caller and the victim from prosecution for possession of drugs, possession of alcohol, possession of paraphernalia. So you're at a party and somebody gets sick. Some people think, well, I'm not calling because I don't want to get in trouble. I'm not involved. I don't want to get in trouble. Well, that's the opposite of what we want you to do. The Good Samaritan law protects you. If you call 911 because somebody's sick or overdosing, you will not get in trouble. You will not get arrested. Philosophically, it makes sense. We want you to be thinking about saving lives, not getting in a little bit of trouble. The world is evolving, and we understand this now. So it's not just in Maryland. Look throughout the country, up and down the East Coast. This is in response to a crisis. We have a drug crisis, an overdose epidemic here in Maryland and throughout the country. Governor Hogan has set up a task force to address this issue. Our goal is not to prosecute. Our goal is to get help, get treatment, and to save lives. That's why we have the Good Samaritan law. We don't want to arrest people, we want to save lives. So, DC has a Good Samaritan law similar to ours, Virginia does not. Overdoses are currently the most common cause of accidental death here in the United States. Many people don't call for help when their family or friend is overdosing for fear of getting in trouble. There's a case of Andrew Woodmansey. He did some heroin with some friends. They were in a car. They tried to help him. They couldn't do anything. The friends didn't want to get in trouble. They left him in the car to sleep it off. He died. That's unnecessary, preventable death. If 911 had been called, nobody would have gotten in trouble, and Andrew would have lived. Never be afraid to call 911. There's no criminal penalty. There's no civil penalty. If you believe somebody's sick, call 911. If you call and then the person is 5 minutes later, they're up, they're walking around, they're eating ice cream, they're fine, call 911 back and say, hey, they're fine now. You don't have to come. 911 is your best friend. Somebody in your family's sick, call 911. You know something wrong, call 911. If you're not sure, I'm on the fence, should I call, should I not call, call 911. Oh, excuse me. The faster you get help, the more likely an overdose victim will survive. All emergency personnel, fire and rescue, and about 90 to 100 police officers now carry a drug called Narcan. And this drug reverses the effects. They literally can spray it right up somebody's nose, and it reverses the effect of an overdose. I know what you're thinking. It's never going to affect you. Got nothing to do with you. Respectfully, like you're my own children, I respectfully tell you you're wrong. More than 26 young people have died in Montgomery County since January 1. Died 6 feet under from overdosing. More than 44 since January 1 have overdosed but been saved by an officer or fire rescue personnel by using the drug Narcan. That's almost 70 people just in the last year, just like you and I, from this county that have overdosed on drugs. It's happening. The goal here, self-preservation, is to live, but it's also to empower you to stand up, make a difference, and save somebody's life. Would you call 911? Would you call 911? Yes, the answer is yes.
Yes.
Very good, she got it right. See that? She's getting it, all right. Okay, now you look at this, and it's a little shocking. It's shocking to think 578 people died last year. Now, these are real cases in the news. This isn't some thing we're just here to talk to you or we're trying to scare you straight. These are real cases in the news. Deadly batch of heroin hitting Maryland streets. Overdose deaths have quadrupled since you were born. Quadrupled. Since you were born, there have been 4 times as many people every year that are dying from heroin and powerful drugs. This is a serious issue. Do not be a headline story in the news. This is not a joke. Your life is at stake and your friends' lives are at stake. And this doesn't go away when you become sophomore, junior, senior, when you go to college, graduate school, get a job. You always need to be focused on self-preservation and saving other people's lives. Heroin can cause collapsed vein, paralysis, death, diseases. It's highly addictive. Now, this next video is a powerful video. Please focus.
The highly addictive drug heroin, as derived from morphine, is bad enough in destroying lives, including the recent death of actor Philip Seymour Hoffman. However, heroin tainted with an artificial version of morphine called fentanyl is around 100 times stronger and has resulted in dozens of deaths throughout the U.S. A recent batch containing fentanyl has circulated around the state of Maryland, causing a minimum of 37 deaths since September 2013.
This is a very dangerous substance and can cause immediate death. Essentially causes you not to breathe. And it may be that, medical personnel cannot get to you fast enough.
While 10 of the 37 deaths happened in the city limits of Baltimore, the other cases have been reported by counties all across the state. At the Northwest DC clinic called Bread for the City, medical attention is offered to heroin users. The clinic said since Thanksgiving 2013, there was a dramatic increase in requests for Narcan, another drug serving as an antidote for overdose effects. To prevent overdoses, some Maryland counties have started to organize additional workforces.
We're in crisis mode. We're absolutely in crisis mode. The fact that the governor, and you saw Ms. Koch just walked out here, a fellow prosecutor of mine, she's on all these committees and the goal is to save lives. But again, it's not gonna happen to us, right? Oh, another story. We have a local judge, young daughter was in high school, college, got addicted to heroin. Thankfully she got into treatment. She got out of treatment, she passed away. She overdosed. Then the boyfriend overdosed. This disease and this addiction issue does not discriminate. We're here to empower you all to understand these issues and to do something about it. When we talk about addiction, you may not be an addict if you only use something one time, but the seeds have been planted for addiction. And absolutely, you can overdose and die the first time you use some of these drugs. Certain drugs are more addictive. We know that. For example, nicotine. We've all heard it since we were kids. Nicotine is highly addictive and in the long term can kill you, can shorten your life. But heroin and synthetic marijuana and cocaine and these drugs, fentanyl, they can kill you right away. 15 minutes later, you could be deceased, or as the police say, DRT, deceased right there. You can suffer withdrawal symptoms even if you only use it one time. Now, profiles in heroin. I told you about Andrew Woodmansee, the young man who died in the car. Now I'm going to show you a 15-year-old freshman in high school who smoked marijuana and then used heroin. Check this out.
She's having a meltdown.
This is what can happen from taking heroin just once.
No, I don't want to. I just want my life back so bad.
17-year-old Leah Edgecombe is totally dependent on others, and she doesn't like it one bit.
I'm either in this bed or
standing up today
at physical therapy, like seeing what I can't do anymore.
Oh, the best part.
And it just really, it sucks.
This honor student is now a quadriplegic.
I was just being a selfish bitch. That's pretty much it.
Leah's life changed on June 4th, 2009. That day she was mad at the world. She had just broken up with her boyfriend and had a fight with her mother. She went to a friend's house.
And I was high from smoking marijuana. I was not at the right state of mind.
She and her friend then snorted heroin for the first time.
My body reacted way different to it than my friends.
Leah went into cardiac arrest. For 8 minutes her brain was without oxygen. She suffered severe brain damage and was in a coma for a month.
I believe that God saved me so I could save other people's lives.
P.J.
The last year has been about regaining her communication skills and stretching her sometimes twisted body to its limit, hoping to regain some mobility.
Love you.
No one knows if she will ever walk again, but Leah is determined, and she wants other kids to heed her warning.
If you think your life sucks now, think of your life in a bed 24/7. Think twice before you do anything as stupid as what I did.
Leah is hoping to share her story in schools. She says kids are not exposed to real-life stories like hers. Leah believes if she had met someone like herself earlier, she never would have tried drugs. Andrea Roan, 9 News Now.
So we still have some people thinking, not going to happen to me, can't happen to me, but here I am, my best friend's dead. We see what's happened to Leah. We know at least 578 people died last year from this drug. So it is going to happen. It is happening, but it's preventable. It is indeed preventable. We talked about Andrew Woodmansee. His friends left him in the car for fear of getting in trouble. The Good Samaritan law would have protected them. They could have gotten Andrew help and not gotten in trouble. Now, I often have young people ask me, well, how do we know the difference between somebody just sleeping it off and somebody we should really call 911 for? So in the old days, you might go up to somebody and be like, oh, well, you know, just let him sleep. He's okay, he's all right. We don't do that anymore. Somebody's passed out, we're not sure what to do, 911. There's no penalties for that. If you see these signs, let's say they're not passed out. Convulsions, impaired speech, confusion, slow breathing, decreased heart rate. These are signs that somebody is overdosing. Every second's critical. 911. Aspirin's not going to help here. 911. That's what you need to do. So we ask young people, what would you do if you're at a party and your best friend could barely walk or was throwing up from alcohol or drug use? These are things we need to think about because you're going to be in this position. I hope not, but if you are, we're going to have answers for you. What if that friend said they wanted to drink more or do more drugs? What if you were asked to get into a vehicle with somebody who was under the influence of alcohol? You're going to say no. You're going to say no. All right, so here's a few options. If your friend is sick or passed out on alcohol or drugs, the number one thing you do is you put them in the recovery position. You put them in the recovery position and you call 911. You're not going to get in trouble, and this is going to save their life. And that's why we're here today. We're here to empower you to save lives. So you've put them in the recovery position. You're calling 911 seeking assistance. If a friend wants to do more drugs, you're going to change the subject. You're going to keep them out of that situation. You might even hide their car keys. You know, I know you guys are freshmen, so I'm going to talk to you like you're seniors for a minute, because this is important. Would you get into a vehicle with somebody under the influence of drugs or alcohol? Of course not, because you want to live. But more importantly, think about this. Let's say you're at a party, high school party, college party, doesn't matter. Somebody comes up to you with a red cup, and they have this red cup, and they say, "It's so good to see you. Here's a drink for you." Cute guy, cute girl, whatever, you might drink the drink. You don't know what's in that cup. We had a case recently, 5 young people at a party drank that red cup. There was drugs in that red cup. They passed out, all 5 were raped. All 5 were raped. So you cannot drink an unknown fluid in a cup you don't know what it is. Y'all think it's funny? Some of the ones that were raped were men, young men. There's no discrimination. You need to be thinking, you don't know what's in a cup, don't drink it. You get synthetic marijuana or heroin, you don't know what's in that. Marijuana, you don't know what's in that chemical. So you're going to experiment with it. That's why young people are dying at an alarming rate, because we're doing things without understanding the consequences. So the few options are call 911, put them in the recovery position, and remember, deep down, you know the Good Samaritan law protects you. Drugs, alcohol, paraphernalia, you're not going to get in trouble. How do I have the authority to say that? I work in the state's attorney's office. The police commander is right over there. We're telling you, if you call 911 to save someone's life, no one will get in trouble for alcohol or drugs possession. If somebody gets arrested, the officer didn't understand the law, we're going to dismiss your case, expunge it, and you're not going to be in trouble. You save someone's life, to me, you're a hero. Yeah, I'm a prosecutor, but the old days are gone. The old days of me thinking, oh, I'm going to get an 18-year-old for possession of alcohol, possession of drugs. Not interested. Interested in saving lives. And that's why we're here today, to empower you to speak up, save a life, and understand that you, little old you, can make a difference and save a life. Now, what's the recovery position? I believe you're going to be learning some of these things in health class when you get into 10th grade. But specifically, you roll the person on their side. Their bottom arm is supporting their head. The point is that there's nothing blocking their airway. The worst thing you can do, somebody passed out, you put them on their back, they throw up, they die. They choke on their throw up or their vomit, and they suffocate. It's not a joke, it happens regularly. You got to put them on their side, recovery position, and then we're calling 911. So we've been talking about heroin. Talk a little bit about alcohol and some other drugs, and then right into synthetic marijuana. Alcohol can lead to ailments which include heart problems, liver problems, brain problems, addiction, memory loss, depression, and death. Alcohol poisoning, drinking a lot of alcohol in a short period of time, can absolutely lead to death. Alcohol poisoning, hospitalization, and in some cases, death. Drinking too much can do this. Symptoms could be confusion, vomiting, irregular breathing, passing out. So we're no longer doing this old test. Remember this old test? Hey, you okay over there? We're not doing that anymore. We are calling 911. And we all know that the Good Samaritan law protects us, so there's no issue anymore of thinking we're going to get in trouble, because you're not. Left untreated, alcohol poisoning can lead to permanent damage. Call 911 if you see somebody passed out or sick from drugs or alcohol. Ecstasy is a very dangerous drug. It can cause death, illness, and it can make you very sick. Over 200 people died last year from using cocaine. It's a very serious drug. You can die the first time you use it, and you can become addicted the first time you use it. Synthetic marijuana. This baffles me. So it's a product that looks like marijuana, but it's sprayed with unknown chemicals, Every batch is sprayed with unknown chemicals, and young people will use it. Hey, I couldn't get any marijuana, couldn't get this. We got synthetic marijuana. But no one's calling it that. Scooby-Doo, strawberry fever, whatever you want to call it. But it's not a game and it's not candy because people are dying. Did this presentation at a high school down county a few weeks ago. 8 young people overdosed that week from synthetic marijuana and were taken to Holy Cross Hospital. This is no joke. Synthetic marijuana can cause vomiting, paranoia, cold sweats, hallucinations, heart attacks, and death.
Tonight at 11, overdose outbreak is alarming health officials and social workers.
Emergency crews responded to multiple overdose scenes today in fear this could be part of a growing trend. News 4's Jackie Benson is at Freedom Plaza tonight with the synthetic marijuana threat. Jackie?
Well, Doreen, this is still going on right now. One group of paramedics has been literally going from place to place within a fairly small, several block area all afternoon and all evening. Now, this is especially frightening because a University of Maryland study showed that 70% of the people who use this drug are teenagers. This ambulance is headed to a hospital and followed by a police cruiser. Inside is the 11th overdose victim paramedics have tended to since 1 o'clock this afternoon. They suffered symptoms that included terrible stomach cramps, vomiting, hallucinations, and agitation. All were found in a few block area between Union Station and the CCNV homeless shelter at 2nd and D Streets Northwest. We found this wrapper on the ground nearby. It was labeled Mr. Nice Guy, a brand of strawberry-flavored synthetic marijuana. Homeless outreach advocate Eric Sheptock says he encountered an obviously ill woman near the Georgetown Law School.
I saw a woman who I thought was drunk. She was leaning on this pole where there used to be a parking meter, and she was puking. So I stopped to help her, and she wasn't responsive at all, but then I laid her down and I called 911.
Police believe the drugs were sold this afternoon in an open-air market that has long plagued the homeless shelter and draws customers from D.C., Maryland, and Virginia.
They suspect that a large shipment of really strong drugs came in from New York City. I can't keep up with all the different types of drugs, if they're the same drug with different names or if they're actually different substances. But I hear the names like Scooby, Zorro, Bizarro, K2, and now this one called Trainwreck, which is a combination drug.
The bottom line on this is D.C. and Maryland have both reportedly seen a sharp increase in the number of overdoses due to this new and apparently much more potent type of synthetic marijuana, which is illegal in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. Back to you.
And Jackie, the Maryland Poison Center says 40% of people who use these synthetic drugs suffer from increased heart rate. The drugs can also cause heart attacks, seizures, or trouble breathing. Last year, synthetic drugs were the 3rd most likely source of overdoses. And so far this year, there have been more cases than last.
I recently got a case where a young man went out and purchased some synthetic marijuana. And he smoked the synthetic marijuana, and he started getting paranoid and hearing what he thought were voices, and he started threatening to kill multiple people. So, of course, the police get involved because he's threatening to kill people. And then while the police are arresting him, all of a sudden, because he used this, he's now overdosing. So we have a young man who simply smokes synthetic marijuana, starts threatening to kill people, and then he overdoses. So it's a very slippery slope. You all need to be aware of this and educated of this so you don't make the same mistake. Now, real cases in the news. Once again, these are real life stories. Montgomery County teenager dies from using synthetic marijuana. 41 young people got sick from one batch of synthetic marijuana and had to go to the hospital. People are overdosing at an alarming rate. That's why we're having a crisis, an epidemic here in Maryland, and that's why we want you to simply call 911. We want you not to use these drugs. We want you to be empowered to educate others, but if you see an emergency happening, call 911 because you won't get in trouble. The Good Samaritan law protects you. We talked about prescription drugs and an athlete getting injured, or somebody losing the prescription and transitioning, self-medicating to cheaper drugs. It happens. We all think it can't happen to us, but now we know that's not true. Ooh, real life consequences. Heart ailments, collapsed veins, sexually transmitted infection, kidney disease. All of these things are realistic. Painful withdrawal, hospitalization. What about impact on reputation? Whatever happened to that, to caring about what people think about us, to caring about the citizenship that we're creating, the adulthood that we're entering into? The things you do now will impact your reputation in the future. It changes your relationships with family and friends. I want everyone here to think for a minute. I saw so many of you raise your hand that you know somebody who either died or may be addicted. You have a friend that uses drugs or alcohol, you see the way it changes their appearance, their personality, the way they dress, the way they act. You see these things, yet we do nothing about it. It's important that you identify and we try to help people. We want to get resources. You want to talk with your trusted adult. If you have a friend that's abusing drugs or there's a problem, speak with your trusted adult, whether it be Principal Dempsey, your guidance counselor, your teacher, your mom, dad. Talk with your trusted adult if you have a friend that has some problems. See how you can help them. But these are real life consequences, problems in school and the community. How about an impact on your ability to get into college? You do drugs in high school, you may not be able to get into college. It affects your ability to get a job, get into college, get on a sports team. Incarceration, that means going to jail, and death. These are real life consequences. People always say, well, can I see some pictures of what it's like? This young man, I say this middle-aged man, got arrested for possession of marijuana. He looks kind of like a typical kind of hippie, maybe from the 70s. 6 months later, he gets arrested for cocaine. I know y'all can see the difference. I know you can see the face, the hair, the body is changing. You see the difference. 6 months later, he's arrested again. So I know y'all are seeing the difference, right? You can see. Now, what happens later? In less than 2 years, he went there, and there. Now, if I may ask somebody, the next stage, where's my man? The next stage, what's this? How you doing? What's the next stage? I got him, didn't I get him? Now listen, y'all think about it. The next stage after this is death. This man is dead. There is no another stage. He died. That's real. We talk about lungs. You smoke, that's a smoker's lung on the left, short term. That's a non-smoker's lung on the right. Nicotine is a slow death. Heroin, synthetic marijuana can be instantaneous death. Look at what it does to the body, the heart. Number one cause of heart disease and heart problems are gum disease. You have problems here, it can lead to problems in your heart. Now, we're finishing up. We need to be able to say no. Somebody asked me, hey, do you want to go smoke? Hey, no thanks, I'm going to play basketball, I'm going to catch up with you later. You want to go? No, my uncle died from lung cancer, so I'm not going to do that, but I'll see you later, So we need you all to be thinking, how are you going to say no and save face? There are a number of things you could say, the best being no thank you. But I could be drug tested. My parents would kill me. I'm an athlete. I'm good. Thanks. I'd rather not make a fool of myself. I got to get up early. I got a test. I'm the driver tonight. I'm the designated driver. No thank you. I'm not about that. Or my favorite one? No. But you have to be prepared that somebody's going to offer you that drink. Somebody's going to offer you to experiment with drugs. And the answer is no. And when you see the impact, the effect of somebody sick or dying, you're going to stand up and make a difference. You're going to speak up and save a life. It's your body. You need to protect what goes into that body, self-preservation. You're not going to drink anything from a cup without knowing what's in it. You're not going to get in a car with somebody under the influence. You're not going to allow drugs or alcohol into your car. You know that you're going to keep an eye out for your friends. You're going to look out for people trying to take advantage of your friends. And if you're drinking, make sure you have a friend that looks out for you. And let's be clear. We don't want you drinking. We don't want you doing drugs. We want you saving lives. Now, if you see somebody's extremely sick, call an ambulance. Remember the Good Samaritan law. If you call the police to get help for somebody sick, you won't get in trouble for possession of alcohol, drugs, or paraphernalia. This could happen to you.
I'm really tight with my friends. We do everything together. And whatever happens, they look out for me.
Okay, now, we're going to bring up Commander Gillespie, the police chief for the 5th District, and we have 2 questions for him, so come on up, Commander Gillespie. Thanks. We got 4. All right, so
Thank you.
Thank you. 2 quick, first off, let's say there's 2 questions. There's a party, and 5 or 6 kids are at this party, and one of them gets sick. 1 calls 911, and the other 4 or 5 are putting in the recovery position. They're helping, they're fanning him, they're in life-saving mode. You or the police come. What happens to the 5 or 6 people that didn't call but were helping the victim? That's question 1. Question 2, what else is going on in our community involving these issues? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So to answer question 1, the Good Samaritan law protects people that are at the scene when an overdose occurs. So when somebody makes that call, we're not going to prosecute or arrest. He would do the prosecution, people that are there for making that call. The message is that we want people who, when they have somebody that's there, whether it's a friend, an acquaintance, or you just might be at a party and not really know that person, but know that they were taking drugs, they're in a situation where they need medical attention. We want you to be courageous and make that call. The point is, when we get there, that person has gotten the medical attention that they need. The reason this law came about, and let me tell you, it's very difficult to get legislation passed. And I've worked on many different things to try and get laws passed. This law passed because everybody, for the most part, supported it because of how many people are dying because they're in situations where their friends or what they thought were their best friends have all of a sudden just seen they're in distress and they just walk away because they don't want to be involved. I don't want no parts of the police coming around here, and I don't know, and maybe somebody else can deal with it. But what happens is the person dies. And that's the message is we want you to be courageous, we want you to make that call, and we also know that it's not always easy for you to make that call because a lot of times you're in situations where it's not popular to make that call. And so that's why I say be courageous. We need you as the future of our community to be courageous. As far as the things that are going on around the county with drugs, I can tell you that the heroin is rampant. It's an epidemic not only in this county, it's an epidemic in the state and all throughout this country in different communities. You look at where there are Good Samaritan laws, all up and down the East Coast, there's Good Samaritan laws for good reason, because people are dying and these deaths could be prevented. You look at the video with Leah. Leah says that she used it one time. You look at life, and we want everybody in here to succeed. We understand that people, including myself, make mistakes. A lot of times you get a second chance, a third chance. You talk and listen to professional athletes, and very successful people will tell you they had second chances. But we don't control heroin. Heroin does not give you a second chance always like you might want. In Leah's case, it changed and altered her life forever. In so many other people's cases, they died before they could get the needle out of their arm. So we're not here to scare you as much as we are to educate you. You're going to make decisions about your life, and we want you to be successful. And the decisions and the choices that you make through high school and through college and beyond high school are going to alter the opportunities that you have and the avenue and the road and the path that you take for the rest of your life. And we want you to be successful. Thank you.